We are filming, right?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. There we are. There we go. So now we're filming. Now we're on. You know. So how you doing, Dylan?
Oh, Mike, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on today. How are you?
Doing great. Great. Good to have you. You know. So for people that may not know you, that are new, you know, tell us a little bit about you. Okay, number one, your passion in your life is music.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that do not know me, my name is Dylan Brekke. It's really great to be here. I'm a 25-year-old singer-songwriter born and raised in Long Beach, California. Mike, this wonderful human being, his stepson is one of my dear great friends, Brian Sellier from high school. Brian and I go way back since freshman year, and we've stayed in really great touch over the years. And yeah, we found ourselves back reconnecting in the good old city of Long Beach. And ever since anyone's really known me, ever since I was third or fourth grade, 10 years old, I caught the music bug. And I've really just kind of dabbled in and out of the performing arts. And then outside of performing arts, doing, you know, cutting my teeth on stage work and doing a lot of musicals, also a lot of community theater. I found myself picking up the guitar and taking it really seriously in middle school. And from here on that, I just started playing open mics, started getting here and there some good gigs, some gigs, you know, better than others. And I've tried to market myself the best way that I can as a working and aspiring musician. And here I am. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and there was a country music star.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his name right now, but you know, fairly famous. And he was talking about his beginnings and what he was doing and some of the jobs that he had. And it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for, you know, guys coming up through the ranks to, you know, be a busboy, be a dishwasher, be a mail delivery, whatever that it is that they're doing. So it seems like, standing on the outside, it seems to me that it is probably one of the most competitive environments that you can go into. Mm-hmm. And you listen to somebody that's very talented and you think, oh my God, that just, you know, that voice or that ability to play that instrument or whatever that it is. But then when you really get into it, how many people are really blessed with that type of talent?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it is like, you bring up a great point, Mike, because with the music industry, I think like it's a 2% industry where even if you're like, it's so hard to put it into like a structured sentence because anyone can say this, but there are some people where it happens overnight, where you get really lucky, where there are those people where something happens and it's like, okay, yeah, like it can happen overnight and it can progress into something really beautiful. But there's also those people where it's like, okay, you know, they go to Nashville and they're like, all right, you know, feet don't fail me now. And they call it, it's actually kind of funny. I don't know if you knew this, but Nashville is called a 10-year town for a reason. I mean, there are people that are, like you said, bussing the tables. They're living off their tips. Even if it's not relatively food service, it's a lot of delivery driving. It could be Uber, Lyft. I had a job for a brief moment. Brian and Steven know this, actually, ironically enough, is that I was a pizza delivery driver. And that was something in itself where it's almost like you work independently, but it's also like, okay, wait, I have to go back to the pizza place. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's difficult because in a perfect world, I wish I could make music full time and nothing would make me more happier. But, and I don't want to say it's like winning the lottery. I mean, it is a feeling like that, but thankfully, and this kind of goes into another avenue in some sort, is that it is relatively easier to get discovered. Back in the good old days, like, you know, early 2000s and 90s and what have you, people were, you know, lucky if they could just get their foot in the door into a label business location, walking in through the door and talking with the front desk receptionist. But now it's like, you know, oh, no big deal. I have a song on TikTok. And then next thing you know, 24 hours later, when you go to sleep and you wake up, it's like, oh my God, it's like it actually has some traction. So technology has benefited musicians. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, unless you're not born into a family full of wealth where it's like, everything is at your disposable or, at exposure and everything's just disposable, you're working for tips. You're doing anything that you can to just pay rent or let alone just put gas in your car. It is a tough business.
Yeah. So when you're looking for a spot to showcase yourself, one of the things that I did hear, from the same artist on that podcast was that he was one of the very first that started using the social media, using the TikTok and to get the exposure, to get, which is a great tool, but I'm kind of comparing it a little bit. It's no different probably than podcasts where what do they say that there's something like 3 million different.
Oh yeah, I mean it's got to be at least that many.
Yeah. Podcasts. That are set up. And now nobody really knows. Okay, out of that 3 million, how many of them did 1 or 2 podcasts and then decided that because it's kind of it's tough, kind of similar to what you're doing. When we put a podcast out, especially in the very beginning, and you would see that you'd get 100 views.
Oh yeah.
It was like, oh my God, all that. You're really expecting to knock it down.
Oh,
so I would imagine that for you, it's kind of the same thing because it's a very competitive environment, whether it's to get a gig someplace where you can stand in front of a live audience or whether it's, just to get views on TikTok or Instagram or someplace.
This industry, Mike, is not for the faint of heart. It is something that is very accessible, but at the same time, just when one door might open, you already know that one door might also close. But it is like this thrill. It's this is an extreme analogy, but it's like skydiving. It's like, and I've never skydived, but I've listened, ironically enough, to podcasts, and people say like, oh, right before they jump out of that plane, it's like, the heart's in your stomach and it's dripping, it's dropping before you can even jump out of the plane. But then when you jump out, it's like, the cliche response where it's like, I felt like I was flying. And it's like, it wasn't that bad. There are moments like that with music in a metaphorical, mental state of mind where I remember one of my first gigs that was like legit, where I felt like on top of the world, and I went back to like a legitimate like dressing room. Like it was one of those gigs. It wasn't like a cute little like, D Piazzas is amazing, but like it wasn't like a cute little like bar restaurant gig. It was like, oh my God, like 500 capacity people, and you go up and it's like, it's almost like it is a blur. It's like you almost like have to look at pictures and videos to remember what that night was. And that night was November 4th, 2016, when I opened up for Don McLean, the singer-songwriter of American Pie and Vincent, and, iconic 70s folk Americana musician, like a pioneer of folk, like up there with like Joan Baez, Bonnie Raitt, Bob Dylan, all those people. And I opened for him at the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano. Great venue, holds 500 people, practically the same size as the Troubadour, but it kind of has like that like almost like Southern Western feel where it's like you walk in, it's like, oh my God, I'm in like a cowboy saloon. So it's a really nice theater, sit down, eat dinner, have some drinks. And then after that, you're casually sitting in your seat and you comes up the opener and then the headlining act. And with the music industry, that was that's another thing that I wanted to bring up. Perfect that you said like, oh, the business is competitive. It is competitive, but it also is luck. It is a lot of luck. And so with that, a lot of people could just say, oh, it's luck. But with luck, there's different subtext to that. And it's specifically being at the right place at the right time. And so the way I got that Don McLean gig was, it was actually kind of a funny story that I was like, I kind of got tired. I don't want to say I got tired, but I was like, I don't want to keep playing open mics for like ever and ever and not like graduate to something bigger. And so I'm like, I'm going to take a huge leap of faith into the great unknown. And I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm going to just email the booking agent and just see if I even get a response back. And originally for that gig, I said, hey, this is my EPK, my electronic press kit with my stuff, what I've done. I haven't done much, but I'm hoping you can take a chance on me. My name is Dylan Brekke. And I was like, I think I was like 18 going on 19. I was like a freshman at LBCC. And I hadn't even gotten a full band yet. I was like just doing solo work, me and my guitar and singing up there. But I sent it out and I got a response. The booking agent at the time said, oh, hey, Dylan, thank you so much for reaching out. At the moment, we already have someone for the gig, but we'll think of you for the next time. But, right now I think we're booked. And out of nowhere, 4 days before the gig happens, and keep in mind, I reached out to the booking guy like 2 months prior, 4 days before the gig happens, and it's sold out, by the way. It's 500 max capacity. The booking agent gets back to me out of nowhere on like Halloween, and it's like I'm at Guitar Center out of all places, just like looking for a new guitar. And I check my phone for my emails, and then all of a sudden, I'll never forget it. It says, hey, Dylan, totally out of the blue, but there's an opening for the Don McLean gig. Let me know ASAP if you're interested, and we'll get you on it. It would be a 45-minute set, just you. It wouldn't be paid, but you would get to do it. And I'm like, say no more. I'm very interested. And so I ended up doing the gig, got to take a picture with Don. He signed my American Pie album. It was one of those full circle moments. I mean,
so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Okay, so
for sure.
So you're a young kid and you land this gig with an icon of the 70s. And number one, what's the reception like when you get there and you walk in, and who you are, and you meet the star performer? How do they treat you? How do they talk to you? How did they, go ahead.
Definitely. That's a really great question, Mike. I would say, well, the craziest thing is that it was in multiple, it was a multiple different kind of feeling, because Don was nice. I had a great encounter with him. It's funny because when I was doing my research to just see what he looks like now, everyone gets older, but at the time I was like, okay, like he had a really big backup band. So he had like 6 people. He had like the whole works. He had lead guitarist. He had a bassist. He had his own piano player that he'd known for 30, 40 plus years. He had a drummer. So it's like you're looking at like a 5, 6 plus member band. And at the time I was like, any one of those people that like they're up there same age as Don, any one of them could be him, So I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, like my dad was like, helping me get ready for the sound check. And I'm looking up, I'm like, is that Don? Is that Don? And then out of nowhere, Don comes out and he comes down the staircase, and he's just like dressed up in this polo shirt with glasses. Surprisingly, shorter than expected, probably like 5'7", give or take. But I went up to him and I said, hey, Mr. McLean, so sorry to interrupt, but I just want to let you know I'll be your opening act tonight. I'm really excited. Thank you for having me, or thank you just for letting me be on the bill for your show. And he was really nice, really relaxed guy, kind of modest, but also really relaxed. And he was like, oh, yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Like, I'm anxious to hear you play. And he shook my hand. He reached out and shook my hand. And that was like a really like standstill moment. I got to listen to his sound check, and I got to meet the other guys in the band. They were all nice. The piano player, I don't know what it was, but he was like the secret ingredient to that band. Just like hearing like, especially with American Pie, it's like, dun, 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 da, 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 and it's like the whole works. And it's like, and hearing that live with a full audience, it's like a full, just like, oh my God, like just, it's so great. And the audience that night was great too. I was super nervous. I had no merchandise at that show. I was just literally me with business cards that said Dylan Brekke, name and number and email, working musician out of Long Beach.
We'll play for food.
Oh yeah, play for a pizza, play for a sandwich, whatever it is. And just, if I was like, I think at the time it said like young, enthusiastic actor, musician, just something really like, cliche, corny, but the audience was great. And And yeah, I mean, that was just one of those gigs. And ever since then, it's been, there's been good gigs and there's been gigs that are like, okay, could have been better, but I've gotten asked to come back to the Coach House and it's been a blessing.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me see. That would have been, 7 years ago? 8 years ago?
Yeah, actually, 7 years ago, 2016. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
crazy.
So 7 years ago, I'm trying to think back. Where was technology at that point, Brian? 7 years ago.
What sector? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm saying, like today, okay, we got Instagram, we got TikTok, we got all those things. Was any of that around? 7 years ago?
We had Vine, not TikTok, which was basically the same thing.
I remember Vine.
Better.
Yeah.
I remember. We had Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that.
Yeah. So did you were you involved at that time with any of that kind of social media? Did you? Because I would think that something like this, where you're an opening act for a well-known name, and I say well-known because that was my era.
I know. I know.
I can remember his music when it was fresh.
Oh yeah.
But so you're opening for it. But did you have video? Did you have pictures? Did you have anything that you start posting and putting up?
Definitely. Well, the sad thing is that we didn't have TikTok at the moment, but we did have Instagram. And at the time, Instagram was my main source of spreading the news. I wasn't big. It's funny. Fun fact about me, Mike, I've never really been big on Twitter. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those sites where I'll put something out and it's like one or two people see it. Kind of the norm, unless you get lucky with the site and something does get viral, something does get picked up by the algorithm. But at that time, Instagram and Snapchat, because that was and keep in mind, I didn't really have as much of a big following. I think I probably had like 700 followers, which is good, but like now it's like, as time has gone on over the years and making those connections and meeting other people in and out of the industry, I've got 1,500 followers, which is still not in a perfect world. I wish it could be more, but it's a nice, intimate, close following, which I'm very blessed to have. And people found out about that gig through my mom and dad. Well, my dad's not on social media, but my mom on her Facebook and Instagram, she was like, "My son's got this going on." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So they found out and I got a lot of really great recognition and acknowledgement. So that in itself was a big blessing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things in listening to what you're talking about, like you had the little business card and all, but you almost have to let everybody know, where they can find you at these days.
Yeah, I've honestly put I'm original. You'd be surprised. My main source isn't just doing internet or technology. You'll get a kick out of this. I've literally put flyers up on poles, to just make sure, hey, I got a gig at DiPiazza's, and it's like, there you go. It's like, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. That definitely is old school, because that was the Instagram of my era.
Oh yeah, that's literally how Motley Crue. That's
staple them up on.
Oh yeah, you would. I mean, if you were Motley Crue or Def Leppard, and this was early, like late 70s, early 80s, where it was like, you hadn't had your number one big hit yet, and it hadn't gotten picked up. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the only thing of there was no such thing as social media. There was a landline where you could just, this is back when people could smoke cigarettes on planes, and it's like no one batted an eye. But now it's like, or at least back at the time, it's like, okay, staple the flyer on the telephone pole or the stoplight pole and pray to God that just 10 random strangers that you don't even know find interest in that. It's like, okay, I got nothing going on Saturday night, and they go to it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was a type of communication for us.
It blows my mind. Yeah. And can you believe, Mike, I'll ask you this question, is that, can you believe that now if someone does it, it's almost like, I don't want to say it's laughable, but it's almost like, well, that's not really the main way of income,
No, exactly. But it still works if you're trying to get a local audience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you put it up on Instagram and it may be great, and some guy in Brazil sees it, but it's not going to help you for a gig that you've got in San Juan Capistrano.
I know, out of all places, and it's and that's another thing with playing gigs, is that I sometimes like once in a blue moon, if I try to promote a gig like at that venue that I've made that good connection, it's like not everyone in the world is familiar with San Juan Capistrano, especially if you live out of state. So it's like I kind of put an umbrella term under it. I'm like, oh, San Diego County or Orange County. It's like, oh, okay,
South Orange County,
Orange County. But yeah, Instagram has been a huge blessing. Because when that, I'm sure Brian told you with that whole thing with Keith Urban and myself, I mean, that was a huge blessing because...
How in the hell did you manage that one? Tell everybody about that. I mean, that is just like, that's crazy.
That was, well, first of all, it blows my mind. I don't know if you knew this, Brian, that's coming up on 5 years as of like next month. And that is... I mean, to this day, Mike, it just seems like a fever dream. That was something that happened. I've done a couple great podcasts on this, but this can be our winning headline for this, I guess you could say, is that was that whole moment happened completely by accident. That wasn't planned. A lot of people reached out to me when it first happened. They said, okay, Dylan, who did you talk to? Like they wanted me to spill the beans. They were like, Dylan, don't, is it okay to cuss on this podcast?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay, awesome. It was like, literally, I remember like, I don't know if it was it might've been a neighbor or a friend, someone, it's a while ago, but someone said, like one of my dad's friends, he said, Dylan, tell me how it is. Do not bullshit me. Who did you talk to? Did you know someone from the venue? Did you like, I don't care if it was someone that you saw in the street or if it was someone that maybe you reached out to Keith's team. I'm like, dude, I was literally a regular ass audience member that found out through like a Keith Urban. I don't even think it was a fan club. I think someone from Keith's band. I wouldn't even be surprised if Keith posted it himself. I think he did briefly post it, but Keith deleted it a couple hours later to keep it mysterious. But he literally posted a picture on his main feed to be on, someone's social media feed when you're scrolling down. And it said, tonight, Sayers Club, Stagecoach pre-party. And that's another thing that a lot of people forgot is that this show happened the night before Keith headlined Stagecoach. And this is the funniest part of the story is that I haven't told many people this. My mom and her girlfriends, they went to Stagecoach just to see Keith. And keep in mind, Stagecoach is a cluster, what. It is it's literally the same as Coachella. It is the week after Coachella. 200,000 screaming men and women trying to get a hold of their idol, but because it's a big, campus playground on Palm Springs Desert, you're lucky if you can just see them on the Jumbotron. And my mom paid, her sweet soul, she paid like $700 just to like spend the weekend with her girlfriends. And no big deal. Her son's just, going to work at Chick-fil-A. And that was another thing too. That's another thing, Mike. There's so many layers to this story. It should have its own, like, I mean, I don't want to say novel, but like it should have like its own like thesis statement, graduate paper on it. It was beyond. But yeah, at the time I was working at Chick-fil-A and I liked it. I mean, on a whole nother note, I liked the job, but I'm like, crap, it's like music, So I got home that night and I go to feed my dog. My dad hasn't gotten home from work yet, but my mom has already left for Stagecoach and she's like, all right, Keith, here we come, like just going for it. And I'm like, crap, this kind of sucks. Like my dad and I just have to watch the house and I'm still at LBCC trying to get my AA finished up and working Chick-fil-A, just trying to put gas in my car. And I go on the couch and I'm cuddling with my dog and up pops that Keith post that before he deleted it, tonight, pre-Stagecoach party, kind of like album release show. The place was called Sayers Club and it was in off of Hollywood Boulevard in Wilcox. And so that's like, you go down Hollywood Boulevard where all the stars are, it's right there. But it's kind of a tucked in club. And I'm like, okay. I literally remember posting a comment on Keith's Instagram that said, and I quote, I am dropping everything right now. Goodbye responsibilities. Here I come, Keith. And I put my dog, I fed her, put her in the kennel to let her go to sleep. And I didn't tell my dad, I didn't tell my mom. I'm like, And but that was another thing. I tried to invite people very last minute. I didn't BS them. I said, guys, I said, like, Bob, Barbara, whoever I was friends with at the time, I said, Keith Urban is playing a club, like a D Piazza's type club in Los Angeles. Like, this is now or never. Like, you're either in or you're out. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, man. Like the BS excuse. It's like, dude, I got to go to this dinner thing or whatever. I'm like, that's totally okay. Don't say I didn't warn you. Like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And at the time, I'm driving and I make it to the venue. I beat the 405 traffic. And I remember going into the venue thinking, I'm lucky if I can just get a picture of Keith. And I started conversing with a lot of the people in the audience. And the club's filled. I mean, I don't think it's sold out to the brim because it was so last minute, day of. But if it fits like 200 people, I want to say there were like 140, 150 there. But I start conversing with a lot of the people that are in the venue. And I say, like, damn, like, my mom's at Stagecoach and she would flip the fuck out. It's like, this is insane. I'm just blessed to be here. And I started telling people, like, I told them, like, I'm a musician. Like, I'm not here because I have a special connection. I got lucky. Like, I'm here just because I found something on Instagram. And so I started meeting a lot of different people that were in and amongst the industry. I don't know if your wife or daughters watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
I know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm sure it's been in the background.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure even Brian is familiar with this man, but the original host, Chris Harrison, his fiance, before they even met, because they used to be coworkers with Entertainment Tonight, gorgeous woman. Her name's Lauren Zima. She was at that show and she was with a friend at the time. And she was like, and she's like, I mean, a really good looking woman, but she like kind of whispered in my ear. She said, Dylan, like, we're so close to Keith. Like, you should tell him, like, you're the reason, like, he's the reason that you picked up a guitar. And so Keith and his band come out, and it was really cool. We didn't know if it was going to be solo acoustic with just Keith, but it was the full band. I'm like, oh my God, like, you got to think about that, Mike. Like, it's a stadium show in a club. It's the equivalent to seeing like Motley Crue or something like that in a club. So I'm on cloud nine. I'm taking all these pictures and videos. After a couple songs, probably like 75% of the way through the show, towards the end, maybe like 4 or 5 songs left in Keith's set, I kind of just wing it. And I have this on video. I'll show it to you after the podcast. It's pretty awesome. Is that Keith is taking a drink of water, and like, it's always that awkward moment where there's like 10 seconds of silent. Like, Keith is like, I don't know, like washcloth, freshening up, getting a drink. And I just quickly say, you're the reason I picked up a guitar, Keith. And he turns around, which I was really surprised. I thought he was just going to brush me off, but he said, oh, like, holy crap. I'm a reason why you picked up a guitar. Really humble guy. Like, didn't let it get to his ego. He was just like a normal guy. And so he says, okay, well, when did you start playing? Like, this is all happening and I have this on film. And and I'm nervous. Like, I'm just like, A, B, C, D, like just like normal stuff. I'm like, I can't tell you if that's black or if this is orange or blue, like, like on the wall. But I said, oh, like, I started playing like in middle school and like, I've been really inspired by you. And then the full circle moment came where I said, hey, like, kind of like to prove like my worth as just a musician in general. Mm-hmm. I said to Keith, like, oh, Don McLean. It's like, and he said, yeah. And I'm like, I opened up for Don McLean. And he's like, you opened for Don McLean? He's got like his kick-ass like Australian accent and all that. And he came up, he responded. He was really quick-witted. He said, oh, it's amazing what Don McLean said about that song, American Pie. It's like, for decades, everyone's always wondered, what does the song American Pie actually mean? Like, what does it actually mean? Like, I know it's about the day the music died, but there's so many different layers. And Keith said that Don McLean told him, it's like, oh, the song means I never have to work another day in my life. Because that song made millions of dollars. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, that song in itself is a money shot, which is great. But yeah, anyway, after a while, the really sweet girl that is now engaged to Chris Harrison, the host of The Bachelor, her and a couple of like the girlfriends that are with her, they're like, oh my, they're like being cute little ditzy girls. They're like, oh, like, like he said this and he said that. And then it's like all of a sudden, like, word is getting around the venue and it's like people are like, oh crap, like this guy like wants to prove himself. And I cannot stress this enough. I did not go into that club with the intention of getting on the stage with him.
Well, I wouldn't think so.
Oh no. Oh my God. And a lot of people have like kind of poked fun at me for being that guy that gets on stage with other musicians since then, which is definitely, we'll get to that in a minute too.
Yeah, you do have a knack.
You're too kind, Mike. I appreciate that more than you know. But like a lot of people think, oh, Dylan was doing that before. It's like, no, like Keith Urban was the very first like celebrity or musician that I got on a stage with. And so at that point, Keith is starting to say like, oh, like, okay, people are starting to say like, let him get on the stage. And I'm just freaking out. And I mean, like to this day, even 5 years later, it's almost like, it's like this weird state of denial and shock, but you know, it still happened. And so anyway,
so you got the whole, you got people starting to chime in.
I got the crowd rooting for me. They're like, you know, like, come on, Dylan. And it's like, and Keith said like, well, if it's like, you know, I remember being your age once, it's like, let's get you up here, mate. And it's like, and what's cute is that like Keith is known for like, this isn't his first rodeo. Like if you watch other videos, he has brought up probably at least a few couple dozen of other aspiring musicians. He's kind of become like that guy in Nashville that is known for helping people just have their 15 minutes of fame, if not hopefully something that develops into something more than that. So I'm like, okay, I'll take whatever I can get. But yeah, long story short, I get up on the stage and I'm freaking out. And I'm like, okay, well, we talked about Don McLean. And that, once again, for all the people that are watching and listening from home, I've gotten a couple DMs about this. A lot of people have said, oh, this had to have been planned. You had to have known someone. Cannot emphasize this enough. This was not planned. This was the most serendipitous, most walk outside the door and boom, there it is without plan kind of situation that happened. It was literally like everyone else was like, I was in the same state of mind as everyone else. It's like, what is going to happen? Like this is going to happen.
So he tells you to come up.
Yeah.
And you come up on the stage.
Yeah. And it was like a point blank question where I'm probably like, here I am right here. If I was like right here close to this table and like Keith is like where you're sitting. Mm-hmm. So we're like, I'm right in front of him and I'm just like, okay, security is not doing anything. So this is rad. Like, this is like, he's accepted me as one of his own band members. And, anyway, what ended up happening was that I nervously said, okay, I can't just stand here like an idiot. I have to like recommend a song for him to sing. And I'm thinking at first, we almost didn't do American Pie by Don McLean. A lot of people don't know this, is that I thought, okay, what if I did a Keith song? Because that would be really cool for the audience, especially for all the cute fangirls that like drove all the distance just to hear Keith material. So I thought, okay, we could do Long Hot Summer. We could do I Want to Kiss a Girl. I Want to Hold Her Tight. Maybe Make a Little Magic in the Moonlight. There's also another song called Till Summer Comes Around. That's a great one that if you look that up on YouTube, he does a kick-ass duet with that with John Mayer, where like Keith is shredding because Keith can shred. That's another thing. Yeah. But like John Mayer's on the stage with him for like a MTV sponsored event, and John is just like
tearing it up.
Tearing it up. Eddie Van Halen.
I would definitely stay away from that one that's already been done.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I play the guitar, but I'm not a John Mayer guitarist. Like, I'm a rhythm guy. So
going back to John Mayer for a second, when I heard Eric Clapton say that John Mayer was a master and didn't even know it.
Oh, that's so sweet. Especially if that's coming from Clapton.
From Clapton, holy shit, yeah.
I mean, I think your life is already like in a good direction if a legend before you can say that.
I mean, outside of Eric Clapton, obviously, but two of my favorite guitarists are, one is John Mayer and the other was Joe Bonamassa.
Oh, I love him. He plays the OC Fair a lot. Yeah. He's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, two of them are, total kind of different styles, but both of them rip. But anyways, okay, now you're up on stage. They hand you a guitar.
I wish. I thought we could have done an acoustic song, but I felt a lot of pressure because I identify more as a acoustic player. I know how to solo and lick, but put me on the spot, especially if it's not planned. I thought I whispered in Keith's ear, like, hey, like, can I just sing? And he said, oh, that's fine. It's like, oh yeah, like people like come up and, you know, sometimes like people be like, hey, I'm a drummer. Can I drum? Like 85% of the time it's someone that plays guitar. So I got lucky and I was just like, I just want to sing. It's like, dude, the stage is ours. Let's do it. And on the video, and I'll show you it later, maybe we can attach it to the end of this podcast, is that I say very nervously, do you know American Pie by Don McLean? Because we had that established. I was like, okay, I don't want to do a Keith song because Keith's songs are beautiful, but it requires a lot of heavy guitar work. So I thought maybe I can meet him in the middle and just say like, hey, we just talked about Don McLean 5 minutes ago when I was in the audience. And so I said, Keith, fuck it. Do you know American Pie? And he said, oh, dude, yeah. And he jokes and he says, I know all 487 verses. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's a great response. Like, because that song is like Stairway to Heaven. It's an 8-9 minute song with all these verses, all these layers. And I said, dude, let's do it. And I'm trying to remember. So he said, oh, I know all 487 verses, he said. And I'm like, yes. Oh my God. And he said, okay, what key are we in? I'm like, oh, we're in Don's key. And I'm like, and Keith is like, oh, I don't even know where that is. I'm like, oh, well, it's a long, long time ago. And it's G major, D, like 1, 4, 5, like typical guitar chords, like, pardon me, G major, D, E minor, and then C, and then back to D. And all of a sudden, Keith is like, okay, cool. Here you go. There's the mic. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, and it's just like all of a sudden, I'm like, I grab the mic and I'm like, a long, long time ago. And we start singing. And like after every like break in between the little verses where it's like, I knew I had my chance. And I'm like pointing at Keith and all the girls are like, it is like, I'm like trying not to cry. And it's not like, you know, it's a club show that I was lucky to get into, but, so to answer everyone's question, did we play the whole song American Pie? No, we did not. Unfortunately, we didn't. We did the first 2 verses and we did like the main chorus and the last chorus where it's like, you know, everyone's like, and we was singing pie. And then like everyone in the studio joins in and everyone's clapping. But, like, everything is just like I have a bad habit of wanting to close my eyes during when I sing. This is just for anything. Like this could be a D Piazza show. This could be Coach House or a gig with Keith or just getting on stage with him. But I'm like, I told myself like in that moment, I'm like, I have to open my eyes. I have to like look because I might never have this experience ever again. And so I'm like, whatever ends up happening, I have to look out into the audience. I have to look at Keith. I have to look at his members. I have to acknowledge them just to say, hey, like, holy crap, this is happening. I exist. This is insane. And after that, we finished the song. It's like, this'll be the day that I die. And it's like, big finish. Everyone's applauding. And the best part, thank God, this was 2018. So obviously, cell phones are a thing. So in the back of my mind, Mike, I'm thinking to myself, please, if someone is in the industry, if someone has connections to a label, let them get the whole freaking thing and put it on YouTube and let this thing just ride like a wave. And so I end up, before that happens, we finished the song. I'm like, Keith, I don't have anything to sign. Can you just sign my shirt? And because when I was having a little cute conversation with him, I say, my mom's at Stagecoach. Like, she's there to see you. So he signs my t-shirt. Hi, Mom, Keith Urban. And that's it. And my mom, she's so funny. She is the biggest Keith Urban fangirl, like in the state of California, if not in like the West Coast. And so, fun fact, no one knows this. She has hung up that Keith shirt that's autographed. It's in her closet. It has not been washed. I have not been allowed to wear that t-shirt ever since that experience. So there's a fun fact in itself. But anyhow, he signs my shirt. I start crying like in the middle of the audience, like while he's like signing it, because I'm like, it's all starting to like, it's all starting to unfold. I'm like, okay, I'm no longer in the shock and denial part of the grieving situation. I'm like, okay, no, like this just happened. Like this can either go help my career or nothing happens. And so anyhow, we give each other so many hugs. I get to shake all his band members' hands right before I get off the stage. And the best part is like the high of it all, where you get off the stage and the first thing you have is like all the country fans like just being like, dude, like you're like high-fiving you. I got to talk again with the Bachelor guy, the Chris Harrison's fiance, and you know, she's crying, we're hugging, she's looking cute as hell in her cowgirl boots. So I'm like, I got nothing against that. But and then all of a sudden people are just asking me for my phone number, my email, my way of a contact info, so they can be like, we got kick-ass videos and pictures of you. Can we send this to you? I'm like, I would be insulted if you didn't. And then to put this, I know it's such a fun story. I love retelling it. But after that's all said and done, I make the connections. I meet all these sweet friends. I'm still in touch with some of them to this day. I get off the stage and I just go back to my car. I start screaming because in a good way, because it's like this hysteria. It's like one of your sweet stepdaughters where they say, oh my God, I got into my dream college or I got my dream job. This was that kind of situation where your excitement is just like, you want to throw up. So I just went back to my car. I'm screaming, I'm crying. And before I can even post like the pictures and the videos on social media, I get a call from a really good friend that, it was my mom, her two friends, or two or three of her girlfriends, and then one of the girlfriend's daughters. And the girlfriend's daughter tells my mom because she like gets an update. Like the news is fast. That's another thing, is that news spreads fast. So like before I can even post something on social media, Keith posted it on his social media. You can still find it. I don't know if you knew that, is that like, it's a 15-second like clip of just me and Keith going like, bye, bye, Miss American Pie. And then of course they're waiting for Keith the very next night. So it's like Natalie, my mom's best friend's daughter, she's like, guys, you're never going to believe this. And she shows my mom, and I get a call while they're like watching Florida Georgia Line at Stagecoach. And they're just like, tell her what the heck just happened. Like, oh my God, like just what? And they're like crying. Everyone's like, this has got to be a sick joke. Is that AI? Is that Photoshopped? That was another thing too, is that a lot of people gave me hate in the first, it wasn't like cyberbullying, but I got a lot of messages when that first happened that said, that's Photoshopped. I'm like, it's not Photoshopped, I swear to God. And then the video comes out, and then Keith posts it, and then people are like, Dylan, I don't know what else to say. And so it all just unfolded really organically and naturally. But like before I could even like post my story, the calls were already like coming in. I'm like, this is just the best day of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what, you add one Keith Urban to the mix.
Yeah.
And then, and his following. And then you add social media to the mix.
Oh yeah, it helped.
And it's just gonna blow up.
Oh yeah.
It would really be amazing to experience what it would be like to be that popular in the world, to where your least little movements were documented.
Isn't that crazy?
And followed. It'd be. I'm not sure I'd be really comfortable with it.
I know. Yeah, technology. That's a subject in itself. Is that like, the whole. Technology can work in a good way, or it can work in your favor, or it can't. I mean, with that was where I was like, you can get everything from that night and just put it out there. I don't mind one bit. I mean, that's what it's there for. But yeah, with I have to be careful as a musician,
Yeah. Well, I think anybody, just as people that are on social media, that, one is that it's probably best that you don't read the reviews or read the comments.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, you're going to get negative remarks. It doesn't matter. I mean, you may, and unfortunately being human, you can get 90% of them, 95% of them are all positive, fun comments and reactions.
Oh, yeah.
And you may get 5% that are just just mean people wanting to rain on somebody's parade. And those 5% will dominate in your mind the other 95 that were really loving whatever it was that, you cannot shake it. So sometimes it's best just not to look at the comments.
Literally, Mike. Like, I 110% agree with you with no like further doubt in my mind. Like, thankfully, a lot of the commentary that was given to me from that experience with Keith, when I did read the online reviews, thank God, I want to say like, not, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling the truth. I'm not trying to like, boast my own parade or anything like that, like boast myself, but like 98% of them were all positive. And I think I will say one of the comments that was negative, it wasn't even that bad. Like, and I've seen bad, like just from being music where like people will, and I appreciate constructive criticism. That's what it is all about, being in the industry.
There's a difference between constructive criticism and just being mean-spirited.
Oh, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And I think, to answer that question, I think like the only person that did say something negative, it wasn't even that bad. I think someone just said like, oh, like that kid can't sing. I'm like, that's okay. Like, you're entitled to that opinion. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Like, all the other ones were fairly nice.
Well, let's put it in perspective too. You're standing on stage with Keith Urban,
I know.
And so, I mean, you put yourself really in a vulnerable position at that point in time.
I did.
One, it's really exciting. It's really fun. A chance of a lifetime. It could really spark something new or a new direction or a new path. But also, too, in the comparison and standing side by side, it could also derail really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that takes a lot of cojones to go up there.
Oh, yeah. Like, I almost look back at that experience, and I think to myself, I'm really glad nothing embarrassing happened. Like, I get, like, sometimes people can trip on stage, but I thought, like, I was thinking, like, worst case scenario, like, what if I, like, just like silly stuff. Like, what if I burp? What if I fart? What if I, like mess
Throw up?
Or pee my pants? I know. Like, what if?
Any wonder if those things. But for me, and I don't know how you guys do it. I'm an improv person. To me, give me a direction and I'll stand there for an hour and talk to you.
I love that.
But tell me to plan, tell me to, make sure that, I understand it or memorize it or whatever. I'm screwed. I just, because I won't do it. I won't take the time to do it.
I like that.
So for what you guys do, God, how do you remember all those freaking songs?
I know.
All the lyrics and all the, I mean, that would be my biggest fear, to be up in front of everybody and forget a lyric.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing, Mike, is that, like, I love Long Beach, but I've often thought, like, damn, like, if I were to ever, I mean, I have no serious set plans, but, like, what if I were to, like, move to Nashville, where when you're playing the honky tonks and you're, you can play your original stuff, but like, let's say you walk into like Jason Aldean's bar, or you walk into like the Tin Roof or the Stage or Clancy's or like Tootsie's, where it's like, okay, like those are party bars. Like, those aren't like songwriter sessions bars where it's like, oh, you can just walk in and like the listening room where it can be like, oh, like I just, that was nice hearing that original song. Like, no, like those are drinking bars where you're dancing, Jaegers in the mugs or whatever, like the Coors Light. And it's like, you're singing Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars, where it's like, you got to know how to belt. It's like, don't believe me, just watch. You got to like, I'm not saying you have to be like, Steven Tyler, or you have to be like, Ariana Grande status, but with Nashville, you have to be you have to have a familiarity with, knowing top 40 contemporary stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of takes us, back around to when we first started talking, and that's, there are so many talented people.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
you go to a place like Nashville, and you go to some of these honky tonks.
So competitive.
And the people that you have never, ever heard of that are probably working another job, 9 to 5.
The busser jobs,
are in there fucking killing it. So you look at that and you hear it and you're watching them and you know that they're doing the same thing, just trying to find a space, an opening, something that's going to put them to the next level. And you hear the talent and you think, fuck, what's it take?
I know. And that's the thing that like kind of like breaks my heart is that like a lot of these people are servers that are in those bars listening to those other musicians. Like it can always be like, the working musicians that are playing the honky tonks, but it's also like the servers that maybe they'll get lucky one night. And, believe you me, with Nashville, the thing that is gravitating so many people to come, not just visit that city, but actually go and live there, like to find a place to rent or live and just be like, I'm going to go live in Nashville, Tennessee, is that don't be surprised if, push comes to shove. And when you and your, like, let's say you and your wife, you walk into Luke Bryan's bar and, oh, guess who's playing the bar? Luke Bryan. It's like, oh, well, it's like, monkey see, monkey do. It's like, so you're in that environment and stranger things have happened. I mean, like Nashville has become this beautiful adult playground where, I'll never forget it. I was in Nashville for my parents were great. Like they sent me, my graduation trip when I graduated college was, and this was like 2021. So it was like that awkward time with COVID where it's like, okay, people are vaccinated, but like, oh, like, California is still weird. So if you go into Nashville, it's, what's it called? It's like, okay, like you can do whatever you want, but there's still like weird things happening. And so I remember going into, what was it? I went into, oh man, I think it was Kid Rock's bar. Like I can't remember the name, but I know it was his bar. And of course, Kid Rock's there, but he brings out an artist by the name of John Party. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Oh, John Party. He's like an up and comer, but he's not pop country. He's like outlaw country where he's like doing his whole thing where, instead of like talking about cute ditzy stuff where it's like, where modern country is right now. He's talking about like, oh, I got a little dirt on my boots, like stuff that you're riding horses to, tractors to. So I'm like, okay, that's badass. I'm like, that's awesome. Like John Party's cool. Everyone's having a fun time and everyone's just chilling. Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. Brian's got it. Kid Rock's big ass honky tonk rock and roll steakhouse. So that's in Nashville. And it's, oh wow. It's got, So it's the corner bar. That's right. And it's got a good review, but, if there's anywhere that I would love to play. Oh, actually, funny that Brian brought that up on the screen because get a load of this. I actually remember going with my buddy Nick to Nashville for that college graduation trip. On the first day that we get here, they have a rule where if you give the house band $20, like let's say like tips are obviously they're living off the tips. So it's
right.
Like they have an unspoken rule. I think this is great for you and Jill and your family and your friends is that if you give a Nashville performer or a band $20, you can request any song and there's obviously a good 90% chance that they'll play it for you. It's like, I mean, I remember one time I said like, oh, I want a Backstreet Boys song. It's like just anything you got. And it's like, they're like, you are my fire. And then they got the whole thing going. But there's also an unspoken hidden secret menu rule where if you give them $20, they'll play any song you request. If you give them $100, you can get up on stage with them and sing a song with the house band, as long as it's something that's like within reason. So guess what song I requested?
You didn't do it.
American Pie. I did it all over again.
That's your trademark.
Yeah, that song follows me around, as some people have said. So I did that song, and that was, I mean, same thing. I mean, minus Keith Urban, but that was still fun. Oh yeah, Brian's got it. That is like the coolest thing in the world. That's Keith's Instagram. Brian, humor me. Do you know how many views it has?
Yeah, so it has 223,661 views.
Oh my God. And you know what's crazy is that the funnest thing about that video is that, just like with anything on Instagram or social media, you can look at who liked it. And there were like some really cool, like well-known people that liked it. I think, You familiar with she's real? Brian knows who she is. Maren Morris.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I get a hallelujah? She liked that. I'm like, oh my God, I love you. I have like the biggest crush on you. She liked it. Michael Jackson's ex-guitarist, right before he passed away, she saw the video. She reposted it. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, can I make I just want to make
I think there's something.
connections.
I think that there's something about when you see a guy at that level reaching down into the audience and bringing somebody up and sharing that stage, there's just something very humbling about.
Shows humility. Yeah.
And I think people see that and it resonates pretty well with them. You know, that's how they want to imagine superstars to be.
I know.
You know? And unfortunately they're not all like that.
Oh yeah. I've met mean celebrities. Yeah. I can spill the tea if you'd like.
You know, it's your podcast. You say whatever you fucking want to say.
Thanks,
but,
Mike.
But I think that that's just a truism in life in itself is that, you know, whether it's sports, entertainment, movies, music, it doesn't matter. It could even be real life and CEOs of big corporations or whatever.
Oh my God.
You know, they just get full of themselves.
Horrible bosses at times. Yeah.
They just get full of themselves and they forget, you know, where they came from. So when you see something like that and you see something like Keith inviting, you know, a young kid up, you know, he's remembering.
I know.
Because there was a time when he was in that spot.
Oh yeah, back in the 90s. I mean, I know that Nicole Kidman, when they got married, I know it helped him a lot. But at the same time, like in the early 2000s, I mean, he was doing still really well. He was already well known. I would like to respectfully say he probably became even more of a household name when he got married to Nicole and they started having children. But like before, like he got married, like early 2000s, he was still, I don't know if he was playing Staples Center or anything, but I know he was playing like Greek theater. He was playing like
he was a well-known superstar on his own merit. And I think that I can't really think that his marriage catapulted him to a different level. It was just more recognized by probably a different group.
Different demographic.
Yeah, it became he became more mainstream. Than country.
I totally agree. And you know, Keith is like the nicest person I've met. As far as other celebrities that are nice and mean, like I mean, there's actually a trend on good old TikTok that says, and they get good reviews. Like it's first world problems, but it's like, it is kind of entertaining to see like, especially if you're trying to pursue this industry, who are the people that you want to be next to and associate with? Who are the people that you don't want anything to do with? I mean, this, especially if you want to go into acting, completely different from music. I'll go into acting for a minute and just say, like, I've had the blessing of meeting actors that are really wonderful, and then some people that are just like horrible human beings. I mean, as far as musicians go, Keith is wonderful. If you were to ever hear anything bad about him, more likely than always, it's probably false. I think it's probably, God forbid, even then, Keith does. I mean, everyone has bad days, but Keith is a wonderful human being. I'll stick to that. But with actors or just anyone, like either it's sports or bosses or anything, I think in the industry in Hollywood, the nicest people I've met, Melissa McCarthy, the actress, Bridesmaids, all those like chick flick movies. She's really sweet. I met her at a not an Oscars thing, but it was she was in the remake of Ghostbusters, where it was like the all-female Ghostbusters that came out a few years ago. She was so sweet. I mean, like, I'm talking like, I went in with like fair low expectations. I remember, like, basically, long story short, my mom and my dad, they have really great friends, and they've become really great friends of mine. I've known them since I was 5 years old. Nadia and Nate Semchuk, Nadia Semchuk and Nate Williams, and they're just sweet people that have a party catering staff. So in the past, they've catered to people in the industry, executives, people behind the scenes, people on camera, people in and amongst the industry. So they got us a really great connection where we got to go to the Ghostbusters premiere, the red carpet premiere. And so the night before, Melissa McCarthy is doing this really great things for the members of the Academy that, you know, Nadia and Nate helped us get into. And we got to meet Melissa. Just really sweet. Like, I mean, like she called me handsome. She had that like sweet, like motherly vibe where like, she wasn't like, okay, let's get out of here. Like I got somewhere to be like, and there are people that are like that. Right. And it's unfortunate that that's how, you know, nothing can seem to assist them in that endeavor in their life. But Melissa was sweet. Also got to meet her husband, who also works on films with her. His name's Benji Falcone, the husband of Melissa McCarthy. And he was really sweet. I met him outside the restroom at like the Dolby Theater for the premiere on Hollywood Boulevard. And great guy, shook his hand. He said, oh, thanks so much for being at the premiere. Like, thanks for supporting me and my wife. I'm like, dude, like you guys are like award-winning actors. It's like the fact that you're just coming up to people like me, it's like that's really refreshing in this day of age. Kristen Wiig, also really nice. She was on SNL, super funny woman. You know, I was really sentimental with her. I said like, oh my God, like, you know, I love your material on SNL. It's like, it gives me inspiration to like pursue like maybe comedic things like improv or try to do stand-up comedy if I'm even made for that. And she's like, oh, like it's so humbling and I'm honored that you said that. And so, other nice celebrities, I would say.
I got to ask you about, because I saw up on Instagram, I saw Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. Did you see Top Gun Maverick?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I don't know if you knew this. You know that he has throat cancer in real life, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I don't know if Brian knew this, but he actually went. He didn't go for school, but he did a special event, like a Q&A at Long Beach City College, because he is really good friends with one of the acting professors at LBCC. And so they were able to get Val and meet the students, and they were able to like do all this cool stuff. And I mean, like Val was really cool. His voice is very gravelly. I mean, the throat cancer has really effed him up. I mean, he sounds like, and he's even admitted it himself. I mean, like he sounds like Marlon Brando. It's like, hey, like, you know, how you doing, Mike? You know, it's like, it's really like, it's a miracle that like they were able to get him back on the screen. And then if you watch the movie, that scene, it's like, you obviously know, like they're using like an AI voice, or they're using like another voice actor to just lip sync Val's lines. Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy, but
that was really, that in that movie.
Oh my God, so good.
The movie was good, but that was, to me, that was the pinnacle. Mm-hmm. You know, that they had that
was the whole point.
They had the heart.
Bring back the OG cast members, you know?
Yeah, and they had the heart to find a slot to put him in.
Just one scene. You know, he doesn't have to be in the whole movie. Just one scene where it's like a sweet acknowledgement out of respect.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But it was just I thought that it was really cool just seeing that picture.
Oh yeah,
him sitting, you standing, and you know.
Yeah, and you remember he was Batman for like one film where Jim Carrey plays the Riddler. So that painting, it's so cool. Val Kilmer is just a badass mofo. Like he paints in real life, even though he's deathly sick. He paints, and that painting I'm holding is of him as Batman, and he painted it. He like spray painted it himself. He found like the etchings, sketch outline of him as Batman, and he autographed it, and he gave it like, those were on auction at that Q&A at LBCC at their auditorium for like a couple $100. He gave it to me for free. I'm like, I am never going to sell this. I'm never going to like give it to someone. Like, this is like a once in a lifetime gift. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm forever in debt. Yeah.
Well, you're starting your collection of a lifelong collection of things up along the way.
Thank you, Mike.
You know, if you continue meeting the people that you meet, you know, that's I think that's a really cool part of your story.
Thank you so much.
For someone that's still trying to climb the ladder and find your your footing. Your journey along the way is taking you to a lot of different places and a lot of different personalities, and you know, exposing you to a lot of different people. So I mean, the journey itself. And I'm going to say this because I remember reading on your Instagram where you were almost feeling defeated.
Yes.
You were feeling like, is this really worth it? Is it really what you want to do? And, you know, when you really stop and you look at your journey, it isn't just about the music. The music is kind of your vehicle.
Yeah, it is.
It's what's moving you along towards, but along the way, it's like, you're meeting all kinds of new faces and new people. And I mean, you just got done listing a number of people that you have met that are just really nice, really sweet.
That's really sweet.
You know, you got an opportunity to get on, you know, on stage with Keeper. You got to open up from Don McLean. You, I don't know, there was some other stuff on your Instagram, meeting, Donovan.
Donovan Frankenreiter. Yeah. Do you listen to him?
No, I have in the past. I haven't really listened.
Yeah. He's a good friend. He actually apparently gave surf instructions to Jack Johnson, the Jack Johnson that, big shout out to the Begani family. They're big listeners of Jack Johnson. Really great family. And obviously Jack Johnson is a really great surf rock indie, relaxed vibe singer and guitarist. And so Donovan Frankenreiter and Jack Johnson are really great friends. And so they have the same genre where they kind of go for that, I wouldn't say it's reggae per se. Reggae is more like unique with the sounds. I would say it's just straight up like surf rock with indie vibes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Donovan Frankenreiter's great. I would love to open up for Donovan Frankenreiter. That guy has a solid fan base. He plays the Coach House all the time. He was just at the Wiltern with the Allman Brothers, like the remaining members of the Allman Brothers band. I'm like, that's so cool. But that's a whole other area of conversation too. The number of rock musicians that were from my era in 60s, 70s, in the 80s, who are still going strong. I love that so much. Dude, you know who I saw at the Hollywood Bowl, and I didn't care how much money it cost because I knew that this was going to be not just a once in a lifetime thing for me, but I don't want to put a deadline on it, but I thought, okay, I might not ever get to do this again. In November, 6 months ago, around there, first week of November last year, I saw The Who at Hollywood Bowl. I have no regrets. That was the first time I saw them. And the thing that kind of emotionally breaks me inside is that crap. That was my cousin Shane and I, our favorite band since 4th grade. But a part of me was like, that's probably the last time I'll ever get to see them because they're getting up there. I mean, Roger Daltrey, the lead singer, just turned 78, I think 79. So it's I know that they're going to do this until their last dying day, but no offense, but they've been doing this for 50 years. It's damn, something could happen,
Well, and one of the interesting areas of thought for me with these older rock stars that are still out there doing it and getting it in their late 70s and sometimes 80. When you take Rolling Stones are at the top of that chart.
Oh yeah.
When you look at Keith and
Mick Jagger,
Mick, and and it's unbelievable that they're still at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see too many of today's musicians that are going to be still performing, are still drawing interest.
I could see
that age.
You bring up that was a really excellent point you made. Honest to God, I'm not just saying that to be nice. I feel like a lot of the people, especially, that's another thing with technology and social media, is that when the Rolling Stones were big, they could do whatever they pleased at any festival, regardless if the wife was watching or not, or if the kids were at home. And it's okay, I made a couple of silly mistakes last night, but you know what? No one's got that on film. Even if someone held a handheld camcorder, no one's going to find that unless someone submits it to ABC7 News and they say, I got a story. It's no, it's geez, Brian and I could go to a John Mayer concert next week at, Staples Center and, a fan could rush the stage. And back in the 60s when the Beatles and the Stones were doing that, it was oh, it's like, that's cute, but like, that's just another situation that's like, okay, you'll forget about tomorrow. But like, oh no, it's like, poor girl. Like, I mean, I'm not saying what she did was bad, but like, okay, keep in mind, like, there's cameras everywhere. Like, if you're trying to get a piece of that John Mayer action, like, it's going to be all over the news the next day. Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be a news person. Brian and I, we are our own newsmen. We're news reporters. It's like we can, there are people, I don't know if you ever saw this. I wouldn't be surprised if Maddie or Lexi have been DM'd by someone where maybe they got something really intriguing just in everyday life where, who knows, maybe a homeless person, God forbid, starts stripping and dancing in the middle of 2nd Street. Maddie or Lexi get that on film and they could just be like, oh, like this was funny. Like the post on, I mean, not saying they would, but like hypothetically post it on social media. Someone from like NBC4 would be like, hey, like we saw your material. We'll give you like a commission if you like let us, like if you give us permission and consent to like have that video and put it on the web. I'm like, wow, it's like that's one way to make money, you know?
Yeah, but it's even more than that. You don't even need mainstream television any longer. I mean, you just the platform by itself.
YouTube and TikTok, yeah.
You know, I mean, if something goes viral, all of a sudden it's worth millions.
And it gets faster publicity and viewership before the news can even put it on nightly primetime edition stuff. And so that is that's something in itself. I mean, but you bring up a good point, is that like the excellent point where these artists that are doing their thing right now, and it's like, oh, do you think they'll be doing it when they're 80 years old? It's like, I am not one to call the shots, but like, what if like pop music, that's the #1 most popular thing. Like, it breaks my heart that like, yes, are the Rolling Stones still selling out stadiums? Very much so. But are the tickets sold out in 24 hours as compared to a Ed Sheeran concert, an Ariana Grande concert, a Backstreet Boys concert, something that a Morgan Wallen concert, like someone that is just, oh, perfect example, Taylor Swift. I'm shocked that we didn't get into that, but that is something where before you can even say, you know, Mike Nunley, you know, Getting Real podcast, like the tickets are sold out. It is unprecedented how people, they're not afraid to be a member of consumerism. It goes fast.
But I can tell you, going back in the day when you had Ticketron and you stood in line to get your tickets.
Yeah.
And you could only buy a certain amount because they didn't want anybody scalping.
Oh, yeah.
Rolling Stones would sell out within 2 days.
I could see that.
There was no platform. There was no computer. There was no technology. There was nothing. Was not a push of the button and, you know, you Apple Pay to get your tickets.
I know, right?
You know, it was old fashioned, stand in line, give your money and get the tickets, and they were sold out. And that, you're talking stadiums. Stadiums were sold out. And the idea that they can still, whether it's the Who, whether it's, you know, the Stones, I mean, there are so many of those groups that are still to this day able to sell out. And my question is, are the young pop stars of today going to have that staying power?
I know.
Are we still going to want to see them when they're 78 or 80? You know, Taylor Swift. Are we going to be watching Taylor Swift when she's, you know, 70 years old?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
I know. That's the thing. That's what blows. I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, that's what blows my mind is that like those Taylor Swift tickets for every single stadium that she's playing. And keep in mind, she, you know, that new stadium, SoFi, she's playing 5 nights. Probably they added a 6th night. I mean, and that alone, it's sold. I mean, like, people are in the waiting room. Like, sweet fathers are staying home from work with their daughters because their daughters are saying, Dad, if there's anything I want for my birthday or for just an early Christmas present, like, this is it. You don't have to get me anything else. I don't need a bike. I don't need a video game. I just want this. I'm like, that's understandable. If that's the only thing you want for your birthday, then why not make it happen? It's a concert ticket. And these scalpers, I mean, for Taylor Swift specifically, because that's the national news story that's getting all the publicity on CNN, Fox News, every news outlet all over, is that like these scalpers are saying, you know, you want a ticket to this thing, you've got to give me your life savings. You got to give me everything in your checking, your savings. You know, you got literally $20,000. You want a seat just in like not even a front row seat.
Well,
Just,
the problem with that is, and it's, you know, scalpers are, you know, getting whatever that they can get for it. But the real problem is that it's the people are paying for it. People are coming up with the money.
Consumerism.
Yeah. And if people weren't willing to pay for it, it wouldn't be there.
Oh my God. It's they're doing anything they can. I mean, like, it's inspiring, but it's like, I mean, I will give Taylor Swift a credit, because now that, pardon me, as that, a couple nights ago, the tour, this famous, now infamous tour that she has put on sale that people are attending, it finally happened. Like, she started the tour a couple nights ago in Arizona, and the reviews are in, and I think it's outrageous for $20,000 concert tickets. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. But I did hear from the critics finally and the fans that whether you love her or you hate her, like, you like her stuff or it's like, like overhyped, they're saying like, oh my God, she, like, you got to remember, like, she became popular like when Brian and I were probably like 4th or 5th grade. So like 9 or 10. So she's been around for 13 solid years. And with that in mind, she's put out at least 5 albums. She's giving, and you can quote me on this, Mike, she's giving Paul McCartney level type of concert experiences, 3.5-hour concerts with at least 30 songs. I mean, it's kind of astonishing. I mean, it's something that, like, you know, when you go see Paul McCartney, you're not going to get a cute little set. You're getting your money's worth. You're getting Hey Jude at the end. Oh, but wait a minute, he forgot to play Day Tripper. It's like, okay, he'll do that for the next encore. But oh, wait, it's Paul McCartney, so we want another encore after that. And that's like, you know, the last song, like, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And so it's like, then, you know, fireworks come out, Live and Let Die. And then it's, I mean, Taylor Swift. I mean, I like her. Am I a Swiftie? You know, I'd probably rather go see another band, you know, but it's great, you know.
It's one thing that, you know, about her is that even I hear people that have gone to the concert and people that, you know, it's an amazing, amazing show.
Yeah.
She's an amazing, you know, singer, amazing entertainer. You know, all due respect, she's, you know, she's what you want an entertainer to be. Whether you like that genre of music is a whole other, you know, conversation, but you definitely do get your money's worth. I want to say
100%.
Brian, wasn't that the concert that the twins went to about 8 or 9 years ago? I got them a limo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that wasn't 8 or 9 years ago. That was probably longer than that. You've been
Yeah.
out
Oh,
for
nice.
a while.
Yeah.
No, that. That was a Taylor Swift concert. That's right.
Yeah, they got tickets. They took some friends. I got them a limo. Jill went with them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So that was quite a while ago. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure. I mean, it goes without saying, but what did Maddie and Lexi say when they got back home?
Well, I got no friggin' idea.
Oh man, you know, Taylor Swift, for all the Swifties out there, this goes without saying, is that if you are a huge fan and you were able to get a lottery ticket and be able to just be at the show, I mean, it's like going to IHOP. You come hungry, you leave happy. You know, it's like it is that. So Taylor Swift, who knows? Maybe we can manifest it, Mike. We can pray and manifest it. That, like, I would sure love to get my music out to Taylor Swift. I mean, that is a lottery thing, but like stranger things have happened, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody, you know, has been in your position at one point or another.
Yeah.
Some of them have gotten breaks earlier.
Yes.
In life, deservedly so. Others, you know, have to work long, hard, put the effort, put the energy. How bad do you want it? You know, and it's no different. I mean, we can, you know, obviously, you know, the podcast about you and is about music, but it kind of really relates to a lot of other things in life.
Yeah.
You're only going to get out of it what you put into it.
Oh, 100%. And
if you're not focused, if you don't continue on and have perseverance, you're not going to get anything out of it. Nothing is going to just land in your lap.
Oh yeah, I love how you said that, Mike. Is that how it's a matter of when I'm making these connections, you know, they're not coming to me. I'm coming to them. You know, it's like I can't just have them be like, I can't just be on my phone and I mean, I can send direct messages and private messages and emails to these people in the industry and be like, hey, like, can we do this? But it's like nothing beats a face-to-face interaction like you and I right now. And
well, I think that's something that's being lost somewhere along the line too.
Oh yeah,
is that face-to-face and how we communicate with each other. And one of the the areas that we're talking about is on social media. What a great tool it is for someone like you to be able to get your music out there to people that don't know you. Get your music out there outside of Southern California.
Oh my God, that would be a dream. Yeah.
Get your music out there to the people on the East Coast. Get it out there to, people in South America, in Australia, wherever it goes out. But it's a matter of how do you do it? And the only thing that I continually fall back on is the consistency of putting it on the platform. Not missing a day, no matter what it is, it becomes a job.
Oh my God, dude. It's like, and if I may, there is something that I would love to talk about that I haven't yet.
All right, we're back.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you now. Okay, we've kind of gone through, when you got started, how you did it, some of the people that you met along the way, different, how do you rate your career right now? How do you see it? Are you happy with the progress? Are you disappointed in the progress? And then what are the plans? How are you gonna propel yourself?
Man, well, I would say with my career, is it where I want it to be right now? Unfortunately not. I feel like I can do better. If I had the opportunity, I would take it just like that. But am I thankful for where I've gotten? Like if like 5 years ago, if the Dylan that was, we were sitting here like 5 years ago, right here, right now, this same time and place, but 5 years ago, I look in the future, I'm like, man, I hope I can get something. And, I'm like, I look now and I'm like, wow, 5 years ago, Dylan would be really proud of where he's gotten today. I mean, I think my biggest, strongest quality and my quirk is just going up to people face to face and saying, hey, my name's Dylan. I hear that you're in the industry or you're looking for a singer. Well, I'd like to think I'm a little bit better than what you've got going on. I think, and I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm just trying to be confident and say like, hey, like, I see a future with this. I wouldn't want to engage with it if there wasn't. And 9 times out of 10, there is a relationship that's established. There's a friendship. And so with that, I mean, I am my own worst critic, Mike. So I would say like, I am not disappointed, thankfully, but I always am my own worst critic. So I always want to make sure that I can get whatever I can find. If that's a DiPiazza gig, if that's a Coach House gig, or God willing, if it's a bigger gig than that, I will always be up for it. So I'm happy with my career right now.
Do you think ever about branching out and away from your local area?
Oh yeah.
And seeing maybe what's out there, beyond California?
Yeah. Well, I obviously born and raised in Long Beach. So I started in Long Beach and I've tried to work my way out of Long Beach slowly but surely, kind of like the tortoise and the hare with the race. It's like I'm a tortoise. I'm like, okay, I'm going a little slow, but I'm getting there. So my goal is to, play a show. My God, if I could just play a show, I'm not even asking for much. I've thought about like, what if I played a show in Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, like somewhere that's just like one state outside of California, whether that's north, south, east, or west. It's like, I just want to be that guy where I can get in my car. I don't have to, spend a crazy amount of money on a flight. I thought, let's get my guitar in the trunk of my car and just book it. And so that's something where I'm thinking to myself, like, dang, like it isn't impossible. It's going to be difficult, but it's not impossible. So I think I just have to have the willpower, obviously find a way to, if I have maybe 2 days off from work, I'm like, okay, like I'll make a little misadventure of myself. But yeah, I mean, for right now, Mike, I've just been playing. I think my little local tiny intimate following is just Long Beach, LA, specifically Los Angeles.
Do you think maybe
yeah.
it's become like your comfort zone?
It has.
To where it's easy and
It has. Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I am by no means necessary a celebrity. I mean, I had 15 minutes of great fame with Keith, but with Long Beach, I'd like to say that I'm not even trying to be cocky, but I'd like to respectfully think I am pretty locally well known in the city of Long Beach. Like Brian knows this, is that I'll busk on the street where I'll, if I'm not busy and I'm bored and I want to play my guitar, but I don't have a gig coming up for a while, I'll play on the street. I mean, I don't really care. Like, it's not even a matter. A lot of people have said like, oh, but that might make you look homeless or it might make you look like you're panhandling. No, it's literally just me doing something that I love. And if I can just get a little bit of tips, you don't have to tip if you don't want to, but it's like, if something comes of it, I'm all about it. But at the end of the day, it's people learning my name.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself in the future? Where is it? Where do you want to be? Because everybody has to have it's a goal.
Yeah.
In order to have a goal, then you also need to have a plan.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because without the plan, then the goal basically is just a dream.
That's a wonderful way of putting it.
So, what's your goal over the next couple of years?
Oh goodness. Well, I love that. I don't want to give you a generic answer. I want to give something that actually has a purpose, because who knows, maybe like 5 years from now, I'm a believer in prayer and manifestation. So if you speak it into the universe, especially if it's like being documented, like something great will come of it, like something really miraculous. And so, my dream that I auditioned for it every single year, Mike. I don't ever want to give up hope, is that my dream is to go on American Idol and win the gosh darn dag nab show. I really want to make this happen. And I want to be able to say, especially 5 years from now, like you said, oh, where do you see yourself in the future? Like 5-10 years from now, it's like, I want to tour all of North America. I want to tour all of like different continents. If I could just, I don't want to sell myself short. So it's like, I want to be able to tour all of North America and have the blessing of sharing my music, not just playing it, but sharing it, where it's like, hey, it's got a message behind it. That's another thing, is that my music is all about mental health and like promoting people. And this is another topic in itself, and we can get into it, is that like, depression and anxiety, especially post-pandemic, has never been crazier. I would like to think that, God, like, I want people to see my message. I want to go on American Idol and say like, hey, like, I can do this. Like, I can move mountains with my music and be like, hey, this is my message. If you're feeling suicidal, if you're feeling like you're having thoughts about taking your own life, let me be that person, to be a person of example. Because I used to have suicidal thoughts. I thank God I got on the right medication, but there were moments where I'm very passionate about mental health. So I have no problem sharing instances from my past where I can be like, yeah, this happened to me. I had those thoughts. I was in this circumstance. I was at the lowest, I guess you could say, rock bottom-ish. And I can translate that into my music and my lyrics and be like, hey, I'm not just playing a show for you. Maybe we can get a therapy session out of that. And to answer your question, and we can put this down in stone, I can say right here, live from Mike Nunley's Getting Real podcast, live from Long Beach, California, moderated and recorded by Brian Sellier, my best friend, is that, I want to, 5 years from now, hopefully by next season, because they're already airing this season, but next season, I want to be on American Idol, playing my original music, playing in front of millions of people on TV every night, or at least every week, and be able for people to see that message and be like, this guy's the real deal. Let's get him a show.
I think that's, it's a great goal to have, and especially because you have a good message that you want to share.
Yeah.
That's admirable. I'm going to challenge you though, and say that you don't, to be on the idol would be quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not taking anything away from it. But I also think if you want to get that message out there and you really want to have people hear you and you want to be heard for the right reasons, there are so many avenues that you can take. There's I can only remember her first name, Allie, but she's from Ireland. And she pops up on YouTube, and she street singer.
Love that.
Yeah, beautiful voice, just but guitar, a mic, in the street. She'll have every once in a while people accompanying her, and she gets over 1 million views now.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy for her.
Yeah, and I think that
Allie Sherlock, yeah.
Sherlock, yeah, amazing. Just an amazing voice. I haven't ever heard her sing original music.
Oh yeah.
It's
mostly just like covers.
Yeah, but
Like Wonderwall or like something really beautiful.
Yeah, and she started really, really young. I think I can't remember. I don't really know that much about her, but and then since then that has kind of pushed me into finding other musicians.
You never know who's going to blow up one day.
She's only 17 right now.
Right now she's 17.
Yeah, so she got the whole world ahead of her. Yeah,
and she's just hitting it hard, but she's doing it all on her own. She's doing it out on the street.
At 11.
Oh wow.
Was she really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's wonderful. I'm gonna have to check that out. Allie Sherlock. Brian, if it isn't too much trouble, can you pull up my Instagram and play a video if that's okay?
Of course.
Yeah. I on the topic of Allie is that like with music, it is always important, and I'm sure you know this out of all people, Mike, is that it is important to have a message. Let me see. Go down a little bit, Brian. A little bit more. By the way, folks, I have a gig coming up at Hotel Cafe on March 31st. Oh yeah, that's Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
You want to play that just for shits and giggles? Kiss from a Rose. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, hey, what? Yeah. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's an iconic song. If you could go down, oh, perfect. See the middle one? Go down one more, Brian. One more below that. Yeah, that one right there. Play that one. So this is great.
Oh, hey, Caleb. Hey, man.
This is my favorite lead singer of my all-time favorite band.
Oh my gosh, dude, your music is changing my life. Say hi. Hi. Who am I saying? Say hi, Mom. Yeah. Hey, Mom. Hey, this is Stephen Curtis Chapman's son and the best musician in the world. Oh my gosh. I get to do. Oh, dude, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to show that because I wrote a long, cool post to that where it was this thing where I was sharing a story about how, I have some late night thoughts. I have these things on my mind about depression and anxiety, how it really was like, unfortunately for a time, it was like my identity where it was like, oh my God, for a few months, I couldn't get out of this rut. And ironically, it was like a very, very few months before the pandemic, before COVID was even a thing. It was like a whole thing where I was on the wrong medication and I was taking medication that was designed for like anxiety and just OCD. And it turned out that it was a medication that it's generic. It's called, it's generic for a pill called Geodon. And some people take it and it works great. And there's also some things where it's like, oh my God, not everyone's, one man's trash is another man's treasure. But like for me, it was the complete opposite. I had a really bad reaction to it, but it was weird because for the first couple months, I had no problem with it. I'm like, I'm functioning really well. And so it was like this 6-month aftermath where thank God, like knock on wood, like I've never had schizophrenia, but the pill or the medication for that matter, it was designed for people generically, for people that struggle with anxiety, OCD, but also depression and schizophrenia. So get a load of this, Mike. Almost, well, not almost, but like by taking that medication that was designed with a broad spectrum of people that deal with certain conditions, the medication that was supposed to help with people that had that, even though I never had schizophrenia, it gave me schizophrenia. And it was the weirdest reaction. Like I wasn't necessarily seeing things point blank or hearing crazy things, but I had horrible nightmares. I had horrible intrusive thoughts. Like and it's important to raise awareness to this, is that like I had thoughts about like impending doom on my life. It's like, oh my God, like the next couple days, something bad's going to happen to me. Like I'm going to be in a certain situation, and during this part of the day or part of the night, I'm going to have really bad thoughts, all these like horrible things. And so I, coming back to that post that Brian shared on the screen, like I, had this, and I'm all better now, thank the Lord. But like a couple nights ago, about like a week or two ago on my Instagram, I thought, what if I just was really transparent and I put a post about my mental health or mental health in general, where it's like, you know, if you're having suicidal thoughts, don't give up. I know that's easier said than done, and it's a scary topic to talk about. And this benefits all three of us in this room, is that not only is mental health a real, but take a load of this, is men's mental health. I mean, think about all the actors, or not even to discriminate against other people, like, but just people that you've met where musicians, actors, sports figures, athletes, people that are CEOs, people that have a lot of publicity in their mind or in public, they're, you know, oh my God. I mean, people are just like not communicating their feelings. And I want to be that person to let everyone know it's okay. Like it's one thing to man up, but it's another thing to just speak up. And that is a critical, you can quote me on that, Mike. I mean, it's important to, it's one thing to man up, but it's another thing to speak up. And I feel like that people get confused with those two things. I think more than ever, we just need to speak up if there's a problem, because the more that, it's kind of like when you have a situation where you lie to someone, it's like the lie just gets bigger and bigger. It's like,
well, actually,
yeah.
in using that terminology, that comparison, you know, manning up always seems to have more the connotation of keeping it inside yourself,
yeah.
being strong. You know, you're going to work through it. You don't need the help. You don't need any. You don't need to burden anybody. You know, you're going to just man up and muscle through whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah,
and it's not always the best way to go. We as men need to also be vulnerable. We as, you know, if you want to talk about real men aren't the guys that are out there, you know, fighting in the street.
I know.
And you know, trying to bully people around. You know, that's just showing ignorance and physical strength. That's not really,
and that's insecurity too.
Yeah, that's not really manning. But when you are vulnerable and you're open and you can speak about issues, you know, that are going to help other people. Being a man is multi-layered. You're talking about multi-layered earlier. You know, is multi-layered. There's more to us than just surface level.
Yeah.
And
outer looks. Yeah.
Yeah. And for years, we as men were taught just to be strong outwardly.
I know. Yeah.
And bury everything else.
Yeah.
And
my dad was taught that too. Yeah.
Sure. And to break that mold, you know, it's a slippery slope too, because we need you to soften up, need you to open up, need you to be,
amen.
Be, you know, you know, be emotional, be, you know, empathetic. Need to have all of those traits, be giving, be loving.
Yeah.
But then also too, don't take that too far.
It's hard. It's
because you gotta be strong. You gotta be man. You gotta be a leader. You gotta be somebody that people look up to. You gotta be somebody that people can rely on. And you know, and so it's a crossover. And one of the things that I talk about more than anything else is balance.
Yeah.
We have to have balance in life, and people confuse that with taking the easy road, or
I know.
or
going around a situation instead of going through it.
well, that, and also too, it's like you go to the gym. No balance here. No, I'm talking about you go to the gym. No, give it 100%. Give it 100%.
There we go. Yeah, I love that.
Don't
no
quit.
pain, no gain. Of course.
Yeah, but don't quit. Don't give up just because you're hurting. Go 100%. But when you leave the gym.
Oh,
go home.
I like that.
Go home and be a dad and be a husband and give that 100.
I like that. Oh,
give
wow.
that 100%. Give 100% of everything that you're doing at the moment. Then when you get up the next day and you go to work, give that 100%.
I like that. I've never heard it said like that, where it's like yes, it's balanced, but it's also knowing the difference between separated parts in your life. So it's like, okay.
That's where the balance is.
Oh my God.
The balance is the overall life that you have, not the individual things that you do. It's like your music. Give your music 100%. Don't back up. Don't back away from it. Don't take the easy route. Don't do, when you're talking about your music, or whether it's
promote myself.
Yeah, whether it's playing the music, whether it's writing the music, or whether it's promoting the music, give it 100%.
Oh
it's all you do.
Yeah.
But when you're done, be a son.
I know.
Be a boyfriend. Be a friend.
Yeah.
Be whatever. Give that 100%. And then when it's time to go to work, while you're still working, before your music takes off, you give that 100%. And then the key is the balance between those things that you do. But it's not balance in the individual thing.
I love that. I love that so much, Mike. I agree, because there have been moments where I feel like, and this happens with men, it happens with women too. I think it's equal across the board, is that you could be a great mother, but a bad wife. You could be a great father, but a bad husband, or vice versa, where it's like,
sure,
it's and if there's 8 billion people in the world, it's bound to happen. It's inevitable. Sure. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I don't think I'm sure I've definitely struggled at points in my life with that. I'm blessed. I have 2 amazing parents. I have a wonderful mother, a wonderful father, and I'm an only child. So it's like, I think, one of my goals is to be a great son, but also be a great cousin, great nephew, great a wonderful grandson, and then a great, wonderful grandson. But it's and a great friend, but it's also like, it's hard in the sense of like, just when you're walking down the street, like I'll give you an example, is that like, there's also the life of just being a human. And I know what you're thinking. It's like, okay, like what does Dylan mean by that? Well, it's like going out and walking down on 2nd Street and just running errands, or getting food, where in everyone else's mind, like when you're talking to the cashier or the sweet lady that's bagging your groceries, it's like, okay, to them, it's like, believe it or not, you're just good old Mike, from down the street, just the guy who used to be in the police force and now, does sales and does a podcast and is, of course he's a dad and he's a husband, loving dad and loving uncle and what have you. But like, it's like when you go to like a restaurant in 2nd or wherever, it's like, oh my God, it's just, and that point, it's like, I'm also just Mike going in the human, if that makes sense. And I guess where I'm going with that is that earlier today, I'll give a specific example, is that I was on 2nd Street and it was crazy because I was going to Starbucks, had a long line. So I went to Phil's down the street. Yeah, the other coffee shop. And I'm like, okay, I'll walk down to Phil's and see if I can get a coffee. And, great. I mean, everything was fine in my life, but I don't even know her name. I just saw her today, but there was an unfortunate situation where, and this goes back to mental health and quite possibly even addiction, is that unfortunately, how when you're walking down the street and there might be that one person where I wouldn't even, yes, they can be homeless, but it's also like they could just be a regular person who had a really, really horrible day. Maybe they're on something at the moment, or if they're having a really horrible mental health crisis. And so, and I'm sure, as you used to be a former police officer, so you're familiar with this expertise, is that this woman was like, I used to be in the Marines and I have all this PTSD, but it was something where like she was lunging at people. Like, it was a very sad situation where the police got called, and I don't know if she got booked where it was like, okay, like they took her to the station, but it was something where she was detained. I mean, she was put in handcuffs. So I think she got arrested, quote unquote. I don't know if they took her to the station to, have her fill out paperwork if she got a big citation, but it was sad. I mean, this woman was not homeless. She was like a person that, was walking her dog. And I felt bad for that dog, because this is a woman that's, going out and saying, like yelling in people's faces. She looked disturbed. It was and not much older than Brian and I, probably like, God, I mean, like younger than you and your wife, but like older than Brian and I, probably like she was like in her mid 30s. But I mean, to me, it goes back to that thing where it's like, okay, that person, yeah, I mean, God, I mean, I hope I don't want to put bad words in her mouth, but she was kind of threatening in that situation where she's yelling and screaming towards people, giving them the finger. Maybe she has a condition. We don't know. We pray for her, but it's like, damn, it's like in that instance, I have to think that's someone's daughter, like God, that could be someone's wife,
Yeah. And then unfortunately, that's part of the world and the society that we live in today.
I know.
There's, whether the person's homeless or not, is more of a moot point than anything, because if they are homeless, they need help.
They do.
And it's, it's a shame on us and society, shame on our government.
I wish there was more we could do.
Well,
I know.
There needs to be,
absolutely.
There needs to be, and that gets into a whole political thing that I'm not really, knowledgeable about to really have any kind of a real set opinion. But I do know that if our country can spend the amount of money that it does in other countries and, fight wars and do all the things, we can sure as hell afford to give safe haven to some of the homeless that are out there, not because they don't want to work, not because they're drug addicted, but because they literally have mental health issues. We should take care of those people.
100%. I mean, there should be like a mental health facility where, I love how there's a place, I hope it didn't go out of business, because I literally, as I was walking down 2nd Street today, I saw like plaster around. I'm like, oh no, but it's wonderful. I'm sure you've seen it. It's called Same Day Health, and it's right by the jewelry store, McCarthy's. And it's basically a location that was made during the pandemic where you could get, not just COVID tests, but you could get like IV treatment. So if you like are feeling low energy, or if you're sick and it's just like a cold or a flu or a fever, you can get, blood work done, and you can get IV treatment where they can test your blood. They could do different things like a really, like, I'm talking like, especially someone that in your expertise where you used to be a law enforcement official, I thought, oh my God, this is like perfect for the community, where it's like, oh my God, like it's not just COVID tests. Like you can like see if, you have like healthy blood, like, oh, like, is your cholesterol up? It's almost like an establishment that is like CVS pharmacy, but it's like to the next level. COVID tests, you can get IV treatment where they can check your blood, how your cholesterol is your blood level okay? Maybe you struggle with diabetes. Maybe you need like something where like you need like one of those like little, I'm not a fan of needles, but like a little point needle where you can see if you're okay with your type 1 or type 2 diabetes. It could also be something where that establishment would give out pamphlets about nutrition. It was just, I feel like it's still there, but it's for the community, and it's been helping people. So I'm like, that's amazing. Like we need more of those type of things,
Yeah. I think those, places like that do, have a place in our communities. But I think more importantly, I think that we need mental health facilities that can take people in, house them.
Oh, yeah.
Medicate, work with. And
That's a good point.
and there are just, there are certain people that their mental health is, they are never going to live a normal life. And if that's the case, then there needs to be a place that they can go to where we as a society can help them, keep an eye on them, keep them safe from themselves, keep them safe from other people. There's been a number of instances in Long Beach alone where homeless that are on the street that, are mentally ill
Oh yeah.
have attacked, in a certain couple instances have actually killed, people just out for a walk, people on their way home, just, and it's easy to point the finger and say, the person is horrible or whatever. But when you have mental health and you really can't control that,
I
then you
know,
really
because it's
don't-
like we
and you
don't know
really
their
don't.
mind. It's like we want to help them, but
Well, their mind's not normal.
Yeah.
Their mind's not thinking rationally. It's not thinking like us. So if that's the case, there should be a place that we can put them, house them, take care of them, and, one, keep them safe to themselves, and two, safe from other people. So it's, but, we might be a ways away from that. But I really think that, going back to what we were talking about in men and men being men, and, learning to be softer, more open, more empathetic,
Yeah.
but also in the same hand, teach our young boys to be strong in a positive manner.
Yeah.
Not be strong because you're going to go out and pick fights, and I'm tired of seeing the videos on Instagram with people knocking somebody out.
Oh my God.
that is
I
just
know.
that's
it's juvenile. Yeah, and these are grown men that are doing it too.
yeah, and there's no need for it, because that's not being strong.
I know. Yeah.
Being strong is being caring and helping,
Mentally
and being
strong. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another thing, is that like you always bring up great points, Mike, is that like the people that are very physically strong, that are in love and almost obsessed with, Brian and I can attest to that, both of this, is that like there is a big problem. Heck, if you know anybody is in law enforcement for Long Beach, please feel free to send them this message. Is that I'm sure it's an elephant in the room type situation, but there are a lot of bouncers, not even like police officers or firemen. It's the security guards outside the Long Beach bars. Not like, well, not every single bar, but there's, and Brian knows, there's we can diss them. What the hell? It's called Dogs. Cool bar, but the bouncers are dicks, and I'm telling it how it is. It's like they have an overwhelming amount of assault allegations against them. These are like, I mean, like nothing would make me more safe if I go into a bar knowing that it is actually security personnel, like people that are actually there to de-escalate the situation. If someone is, I mean, this is, I might say a couple cuss words. Sorry, grandma. But like, this is like stuff where it's like, you look at it even as like someone who used to be in law enforcement, and it's people that, they're being dumbasses. It's not even a matter of like, oh, that was justified. No, it's like you look at it from afar, they're all dumbasses. It's like, I'm talking like, what happens if there's two drunk guys or two drunk girls, or, the opposite sex, and they're drunk in a bar and they're fighting and they're trying to get physical. The last thing you want is more blood on the floor. That's the last thing I think anyone would want. And so these bouncers, I mean, I think it's calmed down. I wouldn't be surprised if there's still something that goes around in and out of that bar. And they have great food, but like their bouncer situation is like, at least when the pandemic got a hand of control, like right when people started going out again, there were people that were the security and the bouncers. They were punching people out. They were like, oh, fuck, there's a fight going on. Well, not in our bar. Like all this like egotistical crap where it's like, oh, it's like someone wanting to put 2 and 2 together, but they want to make the answer 5. It just doesn't add up. It's like, why? I mean, and of course it's like, the Long Beach police are there and they're like there to get the information. But I think what confused the hell out of me is that nothing happened to the bouncers. It's like, well, it's our bar. It's like, oh my God. It's like, I'm looking forward to a day where like just people, I mean, this is extreme, Mike. I mean, I don't know if it's something where like the people of of dogs would have to like get put on record or go on trial for, but like, I mean, so far so good. I mean, they're starting to get more security personnel, but that's another thing. I guess that's my TED Talk. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that particular circumstance, but I just know overall, we live in a very, very strange time where violence is accepted as norm.
Oh my God.
In some cases, But also too, I have, you know, a lot of faith and a lot of hope in what I call the 90%.
Oh yeah.
And the 90% are those of us that are in the middle. We're not far on the left. We're not far on the right.
I'm that. Yeah, I'm independent. Yeah.
We don't, you know, we aren't extremists in any way.
Yeah.
Most of us are just human beings walking down the street.
I love that. Yeah.
Want to be kind, want to be open. And I believe in it because when I'm walking down the street and I see people and I say hello or I make eye contact.
How you doing?
They say hello. They make eye contact.
I love that. That's so wholesome.
You know, and it is 90% of the time. Very seldom do I have, and I can't even give you an instance of a time where it wasn't reciprocated. And so that gives me hope. And along with that is I don't put myself in places.
Like you're not like, you know, dangling a bunch of cats in the middle of Compton in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Well, not even so much that, but you know, I'm not someplace where there's going to be a lot of drinking.
Yeah,
you know?
that's smart.
You know, I'm not in a place where there's going to be, you know, where it's going to be loud and there's going to be a lot of people, you know, commingling and drinking heavy, and you know, and I just don't put myself in situations anymore that I may find precarious. And a lot of that has to do with age. And it isn't age in and by itself. It's the tenure that goes along with age. It's the experience in life that goes along with age that I have learned where I'm comfortable and where I'm not comfortable. And going to what your story is, if I wasn't comfortable, I would never go
I like that. Yeah.
someplace, you know, like that. I don't want to put myself in harm's way. And I think that we as people, as a group, as a community, we need to keep that in mind. And then wherever we are, it's our responsibility to make that place welcome and kind and open and whatever. I don't care if you go to Rite Aid. If your presence there is friendly and open and kind, you're going to invite other people around you. It goes back to what you were saying.
Inviting that energy in.
Well, it's going back to what you were saying earlier about manifesting. You know, you want kindness, you exude kindness.
I like that. Yeah.
And then kindness will come back. You will be manifesting that kindness back to you.
Yeah, kind of like what goes around comes around.
Absolutely. So regardless of what's going on around us, because there are harsh environments. There are things going on that I don't agree with. There are people acting certain ways I don't agree with. I can't stop it.
I know.
I cannot by myself. I'm not going to walk in and intervene.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, so what I am going to do is I'm going to stay away from that environment and stay in an environment that I am happy in and exude that happiness, which creates more, and hopefully it'll accelerate.
And you succeed. I mean, like, you know, I finally got to meet you when I was working at Catella Deli the other day. I thought that was so great. I loved how you introduced yourself. I like, at first, at the very first second, I thought, oh no, did I get his order wrong? And it's like, oh no, my name's Mike Nunley. I'm Brian Stell, your stepdad. I'm like, oh my God, like it's so great to finally meet you. And that was a great fond embrace. I mean, it was great to see Brian's mom after so long. And that's another thing is that, you know, we haven't gotten to talk about them much, but on a good note is that, like, yeah, Brian's siblings, like Lexi, Maddie, and even Steven and Dylan, my name twin, Dylan and Steven and Lexi and Maddie, they're all wonderful. I mean, like, they all crack me up. I mean, it really goes to show that I'm repeating what you said, Mike. What you put out into the world, you will get back. And off topic, but kind of on the topic, is that I have a podcast that I would like to recommend to you. So there's a really wonderful actor named John Berthnall. He played his character got killed off, but he was Shane in The Walking Dead many years ago, and he is a New York American actor with some Italian in him. He had Shia LaBeouf, like the famous but now like infamous. Oh yeah, John Berthnall. Yeah. So he's known for he became a household name. Everyone started to figure him out in The Walking Dead, and ever since then he played the Punisher in Marvel. He was in Fury, which is a great World War II film with Brad Pitt. And he met Shia LaBeouf in the Fury movie. And you're well aware that Shia LaBeouf, unfortunately, has gotten into a lot of trouble with the law. Oh, perfect addition to that is that Shia LaBeouf, mental health, like no tomorrow in sight, getting arrested because he was a child actor and he's trying to figure out the difference between reality and his professional and personal life. So after years of constantly running in the law with different countries and just burning these bridges with family and friends and no one wanting to talk with him, he established or has maintained, should I say, established and maintained all throughout the years, a great relationship with John Berthnall. So the podcast is called Real Ones with John Berthnall. No pun intended, getting real with Mike Nunley, but Real Ones with John Berthnall. And it's one of the first podcasts in the series. And normally he just interviews he's interviewed a couple of his old co-stars, old co-workers, but sometimes, I mean, one of his best episodes is with Shia. It's most of them get like a couple 100,000 views. The one with Shia got millions of views. It's still trending to this day with views. And it's basically Shia. He took a little break in the limelight when unfortunately a sexual battery allegation came out about him because unfortunately he had domestic disputes with his then partner at the time. But John Berthnall sits him down and they're in front of like a cabin in the middle of like the desert or Mojave Desert. And Shia is apologizing, but he's also giving insight to all the things that he's experienced in the industry. And almost like, yes, he's admitting things that he never admitted in the past, but he's also within the process almost instantaneously just exposing Hollywood. And it's that's definitely something to look into. I think as a podcast guy, you'll look at that and you'll find stuff that was never said before. And Shia is but he's having a heart-to-heart with John, and he's talking about his faith, mental health, where he sees himself in 5 years. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah. I think that would be, you talk about actors and what they go through. I can't imagine a life where you make believe.
Yeah.
For your living.
I know.
And then you have to step out of that and go into real life. And I think that really takes a solid, strong will and mind to be able to do that. It's, and you look at some of the people that have been the most influential when it comes to their craft.
I know.
A lot of them have had really that difficult, hard time differentiate between the real and the pretend.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of it's a matter of like method acting is real. Val Kilmer, our guy that we talked about an hour ago, Val Kilmer is someone who's done method acting. I feel like a lot of actors have gone through mental health episodes, whether it's public, where it's for the paparazzi to see, or if it's private, and they are letting people know that the reason why they're upset is because it's kind of a loaded answer and loaded question, but a part of it is like they're lost. They're missing something. They're missing something in their life, and they're like, crap, like I'm out of this party trying to feel something with, and I'm not saying I completely condone it, but I'm also saying I'm not completely saying it's horrible, because anyone loves to party, but like they're doing it for a way to cope, in a way where it's like they go into a party to find something. And so is anyone in this world, whether you're in the limelight or not. But these actors, it's a way of escapism. It is a way of saying, I am so I think there's sick of my professional life. I want to find some personality to it.
I think that there's a certain part of just wanting to be normal. I think that it's really got to be a catch-22. You talk to people, whether it's in music or it's in movies or Hollywood or whatever, entertainment, that want to be famous.
Yeah.
They're
I'm guilty of it.
Yeah. And I would caution that. And I would say that if a person is in entertainment to be famous, you're in entertainment for the wrong reason.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
I think that if you have to be in entertainment because you love the drama, you love the acting, you love the music, you love the comedy. There's got to be something that's a passion about it. And if you're just passionate about it, and if you never make it famous, if you're never a Bob Dylan or you're never a Robert De Niro, but you love and have a passion for the art, and you just end up living a middle-class life, but somehow you were able to make that middle-class life.
It's a way of income to put a roof over your head. Yes,
exactly. Then you're rich beyond your dreams, because to be a person that is blessed with the opportunity to make a living doing what they are passionate about is very rare.
I love that.
The majority of
how it
people,
should be.
Yeah, but the majority of people, that 90% are there getting up every day, putting their work boots on, grabbing their lunchbox, going to a job site, and are putting steel buildings together,
working for the man,
working for air conditioning. It's not even working for man. We all work for the man. That's not it. It's the grind. It's what you're doing. These men go to work every single day and grind it out, and are doing air conditioning, doing electrical, digging ditches, doing whatever the fuck they got to do because they've got a family. And that's not their passion.
I know.
That's not their passion. That's responsibility.
You're right.
So if a person has a passion and they're able to make a living out of that passion, just because you're not fucking famous doesn't make a difference. You're a lucky person just to make a living, have a roof over your head, raise a family, and do something that you're passionate about. That's when you know that you've succeeded.
I love, I mean, I know I've said that so many times. I love that, but like, I do love that. And I think if it's cool with you, Mike, I'd love to close with this, is that like, there's something really beautiful that Matthew McConaughey, out of all people, said, because I'm sure you're aware that Matthew McConaughey has become like a spiritual, like motivational guru speaker. And he's really wonderful at what he says. Is that like, he said, when he was already, I gotta send you this speech. I'm gonna direct message you this speech on Instagram. It is wonderful. And I'm sure Brian's seen it at one point in his life too on YouTube. Is that, it's just like, you know, Matthew McConaughey giving 10 things to know, not about the acting industry, just about life. And so he said, one of the 10 rules, and he's speaking at like Texas State University, a beautiful ceremony. It's a graduation. All these kids are like, oh my God, we're graduating college and getting our bachelor's or even our master's for that matter. And our parents are in the audience, and there's Matt McConaughey, the actor, saying his speech, and he's sitting down and he's so wise. I mean, anyone can say what they want about it, but he said this wonderful speech where he said, the doing of the art, almost like in a short way of saying, oh, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. That was what stuck me. He said, everyone, like you said perfectly, oh, I want to be an actor because I want to be famous. I want to live the rock star life. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, go to the parties. Everyone have to know my name and just get all the free drinks in the world. Well, that's fun, but you become soulless in the sense of you forget, well, yeah, it's fun, but you forget where you come from. And it's also a matter of, like what Matthew said, is where he said, well, when he was doing Dallas Buyers Club, when he was filming that movie where he lost all that weight, he was playing an AIDS patient, someone who's trying to live his life as someone who got a STD, literally AIDS, tested positive for AIDS from just having unprotected sex with a woman in the movie. When he was filming that film, it helped him progress as an actor, but it also broke him down, especially with the physical health aspect of it. But he said, okay, and this is what he said in his speech, and I think you would love this more than anything. He said, I have to have fun doing this film. If I'm just miserable every single day of my life and I find myself miserable playing an AIDS patient and then going out into my personal life outside the film and I'm not having fun because I'm bringing work home with me, it's like, damn, it's like I'm not going to be able to wake up the next day and just, literally bring my 110 pound or 120 pound body with a 6'3" figure man into work. And so what Matthew said is that I have to have fun with this role. I have to experiment with it. And so if I'm doing this role just to get an Oscar out of it, I'm going to be let down more frequently, and I'm going to be unhappy most of my time, because Matt McConaughey said the message in that speech was happiness is a result to an outcome. So if I win, I will be happy. If I don't, I will be sad. So he said there's a difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is result reliant, where it's like, oh man, if I don't get an A+ on that math test, I will be unhappy. I have to have great expectations, as they would say. But when you have joy, joy is being content within the process of doing the deed. And so Matt said he became more happy, almost like domino effect wise, where when he was just being joyful, he's like, you know what? So what if I don't get an award from this movie? What if this movie doesn't go anywhere at all? Yeah, I'm putting my physical and my mental state in harm's way by losing all this weight and eating an apple and tuna can a day with like Christian Bale. But he said, I'm working with Jennifer Gardner. I'm working with Steve Zahn. I'm working with Jared Leto. I'm working with a great cast, and I'm just working. I'm putting money on, the table for my wife and my kids. And he said, I'm just having fun. Like, yeah, it's draining at times, but I'm learning something. And then guess what happened when he found out that he was having fun doing the journey? He won Best Actor and an Academy Award and Golden Globe, and his life was better because of it,
Well, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier and about balance. What he's doing, he's giving his job 100%.
Yep.
While he is there, that's what he's doing. Then when he's going home, he's not bringing it with him. He's giving his home life 100%.
The dad, the husband.
Exactly. And it's balancing out his world. And that's where his joy is coming from. So it's a balance that you need to look for as we go through life, because not everything is going to be easy. Mm-hmm. Not everything's going to be hard. But at the end of the day, you are all you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything that you put into it, that's all you're going to be that day. At the end of the day, you can't go back and undo it. So however you ended up that day, that's the best that you're going to be at that day. And you got to remember that in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
As you go through your day, how you're going to end up that night before you go to sleep.
Amen. Yeah.
So, but with that, how can we get a hold of you?
Yes.
How can people reach you? What is, what's your social media stuff?
I love that. Yeah, I would say, yeah, Instagram, TikTok, just Dylan Brekke, DYLAN, B as in boy, BREKKE. And I'm also not just social media, but I highly encourage you all, check me out on Apple Music, which is basically Apple Music bought iTunes. So now iTunes is Apple Music. All my music, first and last name, nothing too crazy. What you see is what you get. Dylan Brekke on Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, SoundCloud, even if you're into that stuff, and YouTube as well. Feel free to leave a comment and like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. I have my music video for my song Unstoppable, and my boy Brian, who's editing all this great stuff, Mike's amazing stepson. We should be filming a music video for my next song, and it's called The Long Walk. So I hope you all check that out, and feel free to show the love, and we'll send it right back.
All right. With that, thank you, Dylan. We appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me,
It's been a good time. Really appreciate it.
I loved being on this podcast. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Thank you, absolutely, man. It's been a lot of fun. Okay. Good night, everybody.
God bless you guys, and never give up.
Yeah. Peace out. Bye.